This is weird. This is the darkest evening of the year. Is this some sort of mistake?
The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep.
Hello, I'm a wealthy person, and this is my equally wealthy friend, Buffalo Bill. This is our manservant Pedro, who will be providing musical accompaniment, and aside from him is our color guard. This week we will be discussing poetry in our free time, because that's what we do.
We love poetry.
Indeed. I won't bother addressing whatever it is you just saw before this, because I am just as bewildered as you are. But now let's go into what they were acting out. Robert Frost's poem, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. It begins on horseback, in another man's woods. The owner is in town, because it is a dark and dreary night, complete with snow and bad tidings. Certainly no one would blame the owner of those woods for being somewhere else on the darkest evening of the year. That is where the division within the poem lies, between the village, which represents society, and the woods, which represent the untamed beauty of nature. He says that the owner will not see him there, while he watches his woods fill with snow, meaning that he plans to stay for a very long time, despite the objections of his horse, which Buffalo Bill will now go into.
Hello, I'm Buffalo Bill. In the second stanza of the poem, the first two lines are, "My little horse must think it's queer to stop without a farmhouse near." This shows that he stops to observe nature. He enjoys it and thinks that his horse is thinking that it's weird to stop in the middle of nowhere. But, in reality, the horse probably doesn't have the capacity of intelligent thought, which just displays that the narrator is actually very lonely. Lonely enough to personify his horse. The next couplet is, "Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year." This segment states that it is very dark and very cold, but somewhat peaceful in an abnormal way. I'll turn it over to my colleague to explain the third stanza.
Thank you, my good man. Yes, in the third stanza, his horse then gives his bells a shake, to show his discomfort of being out in the woods, with no shelter, no food that we know of, and really no protection at all from the elements. While he could be crazily lonely and anthropomorphizing his horse, it could also be Frost's use of the horse to represent society's attitude towards nature and facing the elements alone, as well as the attraction to danger and the unknown which the woods present. His next couplet acknowledges again his desire to remain there, as he clearly savors the sounds of the snowfall and the wind which carries him to his final destination.
The fourth and final stanza. There's that. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promises to keep. He talks about how the woods are beautiful, but in a very malevolent way. About how he'd like to stay there and never come back, which is one of the many references to what some believe is the underlying theme of suicide. He states that he cannot stay in the woods as he desires, because he has responsibilities to attend to at home. The next two lines are similar, because they are the same thing. They say, "And miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep." Basically, this means that it will be a long time before he gets to see the end of his duties, and enter the dark comforts of the woods once more. He repeats the last line for two reasons. It is important, and it makes it seem like it is a lot longer amount of time than it actually is. So, that's our summary for the poem Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. I'm Buffalo Bill.
And I'm Seamus Finnegan.
We wish you well. We have more money than you. Goodbye.
Indeed.